tonight. So we'll go ahead and get right into introductions. So credentialing manager Laureen Van Roy Walker and
Hi.
senior lead, that's Laureen, and senior lead talent acquisition manager Terry Herr are with us. So Laureen, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll have Terry.
Sure. I'm the credentialing manager. I'm based out of upstate New York. I've been with the company for almost 6 years. I work with your credentialing specialists that are broken up by regions. So they become the SMEs for your specific state. So certainly take my name and number, but I will get you to the pros that can answer all your questions after tonight. And Terry?
Sounds good. And I am Terry Herr. I am one of the senior talent acquisition managers here at Aspen. I've been with Aspen for 9 years. I've been doing dentist recruiting for 16. So I pretty much have a very good understanding of state dental boards and what the process is going to look like for you new grads, getting ready to get your licenses and get started. So happy to answer your questions.
Oh, Carmen, you're on mute, dear.
Thanks, Paige. I said, thank you so much, ladies. We're going to just dive into the onboarding process, what that looks like here at Aspen Dental. Laureen will dive into a little bit more of the details of credentialing and all the specifics, and then we'll open it up. We have some frequently asked questions we'll cover, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So Paige and myself are on as well. We're on the academic team with Aspen Dental, so we'll be moderating the call, and Paige will be keeping an eye on the chat. So feel free as you think of questions to pop them in there. And at the end, we'll get those answered. All right. We'll kick it off with you, Terry.
All right. Sounds good. Do you want to go to the next screen, Carmen? There we go. Perfect. All right. So let me just walk everyone through a little bit of onboarding and what that process is going to look like. So when you guys start with Aspen, of course, you always have to remember that it always starts with that offer being accepted. That offer being accepted means that the talent acquisition team to trigger your background check. Now, many of you, given, licensing and what you have coming down the pipeline to get ready to start, many of you may not begin employment until sometime in July or August. We have the background checks where it's within 45 days of your start date. So the reason that this is important is if you haven't received a background check link at this point, there's a reason for that. Okay. So your team or your acquisition specialist who helped you to come here to Aspen will be initiating that background check as we get closer to your start date. It's a very simple link that everyone has to click on, fill out some very basic information. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete that information. And I do believe it requires about 7 years of current background for addresses. So just make sure that you have your previous home addresses listed, filling that out. Again, the next step beyond the background check and us getting that part of the process underway, you're going to be working with Laureen and her team. Now, Laureen's team is going to be here to facilitate everything with regards to your credentialing process to make sure that you are set up as a participating provider with Aspen Dental inside of our network of practices. So again, we will send you paperwork as you get closer to your start date. You can start filling out that paperwork and just preparing for what is going to come next. I'm going to pass it over to Laureen here in a few minutes, and she'll walk you through exactly what paperwork is needed, and then she can answer any questions based on that. Once you begin employment, you will have an I-9 form that will need to be completed. That is typically not done until your start date. So we would actually get you into the practice, get you ready to start your doctor development journey. And that's when an I-9 will be completed right there inside the office. Again, I know a lot of folks are going to be very eager to start working. Laureen and I will be able to answer those questions as we go through this presentation. But what I would say is, can you start working as soon as you get through credentialing committee? Typically, the answer is absolutely. We're going to be working alongside with our territory directors, as well as, yourself and our practice owners, to determine that start date. Conversations will begin very soon with each one of your new territory director and or your practice owner. So we'll have kind of a guide as to what we're working towards. Okay. Again, last but not least, I know Laureen's going to on this because it's in the credentialing packet. With regards to liability insurance, you do need to have liability insurance, or malpractice, as you may hear it. That will be purchased once you have passed committee. So again, with that said, Laureen, do you want to take over for the credentialing process on the next slide, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Many of you have already gotten your packet, but it does include some things we need you to fill out. We do have a PDF version, and it's fillable, and we do take DocuSign, so we can take electronic signatures. I'm not going to read the whole entire packet here for you, but the application for employment is just as it sounds. It's a application that just gives us your demographics. The last page does include a spot for your license number and your DEA. If you do not have your license or DEA yet, leave it blank, send it in. We can start the process even without those documents, and we'll fill them in for you. So don't wait until you get your DEA to start sending these in. The malpractice app is the other document you can fill in. Again, another 3-pager, requires 2 signatures. Please go ahead and complete that and send that right in. You can get all these things done prior to getting your license. The SPA is a release, and I need that one notarized. That we can thank our friends in Risk. We do need your signature notarized on that. You can get that done at any bank, or UPS will do it as well. So please go ahead and get that signature notarized and send that back. The EAQ are the yes/no questions. These are attestation questions I want you to think about thoughtfully, answer them honestly. If you have a question on how to approach that, either call me or speak with your credentialing specialist. Please share if you have a DWI or DUI. We will help you with that narrative. If you have a yes question that you don't know how to approach, please let us know, and we can walk through that. Again, everything is private. It's something you can discuss directly with me and your credentialing specialist. And we will just ask for a narrative that's very brief, the who, what, where, and get that signed. And the reason we do that is we're the first step in the enrollment process. So everything we gather here based on specific standards that we're required to by the carriers, we will answer those questions on your behalf on all the applications for the enrollment process. So we need to make sure that we have the correct answers and then the supporting documents if we need one. The last box is just that as well. It's the CAQH, which is a universal application, as well as some states have a specific state application we need to fill out. Again, we'll use the things we compile here to help our enrollment partners start to file and complete all those applications for you. That's one of the other services we do. We want to certainly get you into our networks as quickly as possible to see our patients as an in-network provider. Next slide, please. All right, I just want to get into a couple of the nuts and bolts of what you need to send. The diploma, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Please give it when send it on over when you get it. We understand it is not a requirement to pass committee. So, but some of our enrollments partners do need it for some payers. So we definitely need it eventually. Do your CV now. It needs to be month-year format. I don't need to know what you did prior unless you want to share. I don't need to know if you worked at Target. Don't need that level of detail. However, if you're an established doc already working, I do need to know that. I need to see your continuous work history and if there's any gaps regarding that. Again, a new graduate won't have that level of specificity on their CV. Licenses. This is the most important factor, and I think Terry's going to mention this again as well. That's the linchpin for everything. As soon as you can, please apply for that license and follow every instruction. If they email you back, respond promptly. Please decide how and what name you want to use, because the name you put on your license is the name my team has to use professionally. So if you don't want to use Eunice as your middle name, explain that to your grandmother that I told you to put Mary E. Herr down. But if you want to use Eunice, put Mary Eunice Herr down. So again, pick your name. You can't, once we have your name as Mary Herr, we need to use that on your CSC, your DEA, and your MPI. Everything has to match. So again, one of the harder things to pick, maybe. I'm a hyphenated last name, so I know. NPI, that's the identifier. Go ahead and apply for that if you haven't as a student. We're finding some delays in getting that MPI number issued since COVID. So go ahead and apply as a student. Then as soon as your license comes in, we'll go ahead and walk you through how to update that to change the taxonomy from student to dentist. CSCs quickly are just another level of controlled substance certificates. It's required on the listed states. After you get your license, you'll immediately, if you're one of these states, have to apply for a CSC. Only after you get your controlled substance certificate can you apply for your DEA. I threw a lot at you there. I'll let that settle in. Okay, so everybody needs a DEA. The states that require it will need a CSC. The DEA is requiring an added level of a certification saying that you have completed 8 hours of safe controlled substance teaching. I want each of you to review that ADA link that we included here. It is a great FAQ. They are asking for new grads to provide a certificate from the school. Now, having said that, they're not collecting that certificate. They don't have an enforcement for that certificate. I would suggest you get the certificate, but if it doesn't come in before you apply, just say, yes, you asked for it, and then gather it in September, October, when the registrar's office is coming up for air. So there is a lot of specifics in that FAQ on the ADA. I can walk through anybody with it, but it's brand new. So anytime you are applying for a DEA after June 27th, you are going to need to attest that you took these courses. It's 8 hours. And I suspect any new graduate has covered this completely in their classes. The new docs that are established, we can take that offline, but you just need 8 hours. Anything off of the ADA will work. Anything off of what you've done for state licensure will work. So we can take that offline. Again, that ADA link is quite good. I need a CPR card or the BLS, and I need those provider application questions we chatted on the first page. So that's really the bulk of it. Again, I cannot implore you to not wait on getting your license. Even if you're planning on traveling in between, get your license before you head out, because it does take between 4 and 6 weeks to get that through. The DEA in the peak of grad season can take as much as 12 weeks. So we really want to move you along the process. My team is excellent on how to efficiently do that, but we only can do so much when it gets to the boards and the regional offices at the DEA. And next slide, I am up to FAQs, I think.
Laureen, a couple questions we have coming in. So as far as the names go, if they go by a shortened name, can they go by that? Or does it have to be their legal given birth certificate name?
I'm thinking about that. I honestly don't know the answer to that. Do you, Terry?
I would think, Laureen, what I was gonna
Sorry,
say,
my
I got
keeps
that same
going out.
question over text. That's okay. I got that same question over text, and I think my basic thought process is you really want to have your license match the name on your diploma. So, what is the name that your diploma is going to say? And to me, again, that goes back to everything should be matching. If you do have a shortened first name, we can refer to you as that shortened first name here at Aspen, but it would just be for paper purposes that we need to have the legal name applied for in your license and everything else to follow. Thoughts on
Great
that, Laureen?
question. Yes, people don't usually stump me, but thank you. If you still have questions, ping either Terry or I, and we'll certainly take it to our partners in risk if they have any concerns.
Awesome. I think next slide is for Terry, and then we'll hop into some FAQs.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So just to touch on our employee referral program. So one of the benefits, of course, of working here at Aspen is that we are ever growing. We are continuing to open new practices every single day here at Aspen. With over 1,100 offices nationally, we are always looking for really great providers to come join the mission and to come join our network of offices. We offer an employee referral program. The way that this program works, if you have a colleague who is in active pursuit of a job opportunity and you refer them to us for contact and to have us reach out to them, you would be eligible for a $10,000 referral bonus. That referral bonus is paid out to you after, I believe it's 6 months of employment. Both of the folks need to be here. And as I just said that, guys, it's actually, I think it's 90 days. I'll double check my notes and make sure that I've got that correct. And you're going to receive the payment of $10,000 for the referral of that ERP, and making sure that you are referring that person at the beginning phase of the process. It's really important, you guys, that if you know of somebody who's for a job here at Aspen, that we're able to follow, actually be able to track that referral all the way through the process and make sure that we get you paid properly for that referral and for sending your colleague over here. So again, it's $10. There is a link here that will show you all of the rules and regulations around the ERP program and just how to actually follow through that process. We work in a system called Workday. That's the employee that we use. Everyone here at Aspen works in that system, and you would be able to actually go into Workday and submit your employee referral for opportunities here at Aspen. And that's a great way for us to be able to track it. So I think that's it for me, Carmen, on the employee referral program.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. So you two can go back and forth and decide who wants to take what. But the first question I have is, how early can I start to apply for my dental license?
I will tell you as soon as you possibly
I'll grab
can.
that one, Laureen. Oh,
go.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Here's my best suggestion, you guys, as you're thinking about getting out, graduating from school. You have so much going on right now, I realize, but the earlier you can get that application into your dental boards, even if you're missing things like your diploma or your transcripts, that's okay. If you get the application into the boards, they can start preparing your license packet and getting ready for you to actually get your license issued. They'll allow you to submit the diploma and the transcripts down the road a little bit here in the next couple of weeks as those things become available. So I would say apply for it as soon as possible. And if you run into any concerns, both Laureen and I would be here as a resource.
So Terry or Laureen, to expand on that, how soon would be too soon? Like, can they start submitting stuff as early as what have you seen?
My first doc submitted his in March this year. And we are gauging right now towards, I guess, like a June 8th or June 15th start date. Based on his early application, he should have everything in and ready to rock and roll. So Laureen and I will be working together to make sure that we have his file prepared. But my new grads submitted their application back in March.
Awesome. Can you top that, Laureen? Did you have any February?
No, cannot.
March was your first too. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Next question. Can I start applying for my controlled substance and the DEA prior to my license being approved?
No, on that one you cannot. You do need to have your license on both those certificates. So we do have to wait for that license to come in. So, but we do ask that you do it right away. And the DEA will have a receipt with a W number in the top left corner. If you'll send that receipt to your credentialing specialist, we can track that DEA for you.
Awesome. What about the NPI? Can they apply for their NPI prior to the license being approved?
Yes. Yes, you sure can. I touched upon this before. Go ahead and apply it as a student now if you haven't already. And then it's much quicker just to change it to a dentist once your license is issued. That again would wait until the license comes. We would give you these steps to change it. And then we move forward with the MPI. The MPI needs to have dentist on it in order for claims to be paid on the enrollment side.
Okay. Last question for frequently asked questions. I know there's lots more, but what is a jurisprudence exam?
You want to take that one, Terry?
Oh, sure. Well, I think, at the end of the day, right, a jurisprudence exam for an individual state where you're trying to get a license, it's going to be the state ethics exam. Okay. This is going to be specific rules and regulations that you have to follow as a doctor or a clinician inside of the state that you're practicing in. And that's what the jurisprudence is. There are some that are open book. There are some completely online. And then there's also those that you have to go and take them at a community center or at a proctored area where you can actually have the exam proctored and the dental board will send the exam in. So there's multiple different ways to take jurisprudence. It just depends what state it is that you're getting licensed in.
So let's say there's a unique situation where a doc's being dual licensed. How does that work for them?
I'll take that one or start that one.
Go for it.
Terry will add on to this one because when you're hired for a primary state and there's a secondary state involved. The Kansas, Missouri comes to mind, right, Terry?
Yes,
so
it does. Yep.
We have in the Oregon, Washington teams. So we do have a lot of crossover. So I would talk to your regional manager and your TAM, your talent acquisition manager, and they'll have a primary state. You need to be credentialed for each state you will be working in. So in the Illinois, Missouri, or Illinois, Kansas, you'll need a license. Illinois needs a CSC. You'll need a DEA for both states. And we can certainly credential you for one state and then add the secondary state at a later date as well. Terry, did you have something to add to that?
No, I mean, I think that's great, right? I think generally if we're going to have dual licensed provide, that's something that we are discussing with you ahead of time. There's a whole conversation regarding if there will be any supplement to help cover that second state license. You would always have to cover your primary licensure cost. That is not, I would say that's something that the doctors have to cover themselves. And then if we're going to ask for a second state that you're willing to get, we can help sometimes supplement those costs to make it affordable for you to be working in both states.
Perfect. Thanks, ladies. Okay, what other questions? Y'all can go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A of the call, and we will answer them as they come in. I have had a couple on the side come to me. Committee sounds intimidating. Is
Oh.
it as scary as it sounds?
No, it's not. And I should have talked a little bit about that. Thank you. First of all, we meet weekly. And as things get busy in July, sometimes we meet twice a week. So what we do is we compile everything that we've asked for from the DEAs. We do all the primary source verifications. So we actually go on various websites such as the Dental Board. I'm sorry, it's my light. We're very energy conscious here in Aspen. So we'll go ahead and primary source, gather everything that you've so nicely prepared for us, and we present that to the committee. Usually if there is an issue, we've already discussed it, we've got the narrative to support, and we will move forward. If you have a concern, please contact your credentialing specialist or myself, but I don't foresee that there'll be any issues moving forward. If a doctor has a large malpractice suit or some other things that might cause pause, usually Terry and I have worked through that, and we've discussed and already spoken to the board president and see if we can move forward with this candidate. It is at that point we would have a discussion with you if we thought there was an issue and what we needed to mitigate that.
That goes right into the next question very well, Laureen. What would cause a holdup in my license and licensure process?
The licensure process, if you're not completing everything completely, if you've left things off, you haven't gotten your fingerprints, you haven't responded to them promptly, you didn't take the jurisprudence exam, you do need to get the transcripts in. You will, if you're duly licensed already, they do need to reach out to that sister state and make sure there's no sanctions on that license. So if you're in Illinois, Kansas will reach out to Illinois and vice versa if you're in the other state. So there are some delays just between the primary source verification that the two individual dental boards will do. Frankly, at this time of year, the delay is just the sheer volume that the dental boards are dealing with. So that's why if you get in early, you answer promptly, and we can get that application moved along. We have been known to make phone calls on behalf of people or ask the candidate to make a phone call, but sometimes, I'll be honest, that's not well received. We can nudge. We have a lot of good contacts, but again, if we get it in and you respond, I think you'll move along quickly through the process. Terry, did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think it's important for everybody on the call to understand every state is a little different, right? I've worked in Illinois for years, and Illinois does not operate like Missouri or, like New York State. Like they're all just a little bit different. So I think, again, it comes down to making sure that you have your packet in early so that you're not getting yourself in the middle of the busy season, right? Having your information in front of the board ahead of time will allow you to get out of the bottleneck of the new grad licensing process. So just move quickly, and I think just focus on getting as much into the board as early as possible, and then sending those remaining documents as needed.
Awesome, good to know. So what I'm hearing is complete is better than fast. Like they want to make sure they're dotting all the I's and crossing the T's to send in like a complete packet versus sending in bits and pieces, and missing things is going to delay the process.
Correct. Yeah, it becomes
Okay.
hard for the board to have to pull everything together in individual packets, right? So as much as you can the first go around, and then you can send those final two things, which are typically the diploma and the transcripts. That's most of what the students are going to have as their last items.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to kick it over to Paige. There's some other questions rolling into the chat.
Awesome. We have some great questions. One question we have is, can we get our own malpractice and disability insurance, or do we have to use Aspen's?
So those are two different things. Okay, guys. So let's talk about the difference between those. Malpractice insurance is insurance that you have to have as a licensed practicing doctor in the state that you're in. Every provider has to carry a malpractice policy should there be a clinical mistake made and a patient decides that they are going to file a claim against you. The malpractice side of our business means that you have to secure the policy inside of Aspen Dental. Our policy supports the network of offices, so it's built to provide a structure for the size of organization that we are, and it also affords Aspen Dental an umbrella policy to ensure that Aspen Dental and our practice owners are also covered by that same policy. Even though you'd be the clinician seeing the patient, most of the time, what will happen is in a malpractice suit, the patient would also name Aspen Dental or the practice owner as an additional party. So it's really important that we have our malpractice policy secured and in our name as well as yours. So that part is very important. Disability insurance is a personal benefit that you can choose to secure through our benefits portal. Now, you can go through your process with regards to disability, and you can choose to pay for additional short or long-term policies. Those expenses will be all spelled out when you're in the disability portal and being able to figure out what in the best interest for yourself. Are those things something that you need at this early stage of your career, or is it something that you can wait on and purchase 5 or 10 years down the road? But those supplemental programs will be in our benefits program.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. The next question is, my practice location doesn't exist yet. It opens in August. On the NPI website, it asks for a primary address where services will be rendered. Should I just put the street and city with the zip code, or do we wait until we have the official address?
So, Laureen, I don't know what your team does with this, but what I can speak to on this is most of the time, if you're going to an office is opening in August, that office right now is under construction. So our real estate team should have an address for you. If it's a particular location, I would reach out to your talent acquisition manager and I would ask them to find the address. And if they're unable to, they can reach out to our real estate department. And I'm pretty positive that our real estate department will be able to secure that for you. So you don't have to guess at those things, especially with an office opening in August. We should have that information already.
Thanks, Terry. Is there an expo day in Illinois, just like there is in Texas?
There is not. There definitely is not. I've certainly would love to have in Illinois, but the Expo Day in Texas, I'm interested to see how that goes this year. But Illinois is a completely online process. Again, I strongly recommend that you get out there and get everything submitted now, right? The sooner you get that process started in Illinois will help you to get your things moving quickly. Illinois can be one of the longer processes. Generally, I think, Laureen, we've seen licenses take about 6 weeks roughly, and even longer depending on if the student gets caught in a wreck in Illinois.
That's true.
Perfect. We
Yeah.
do have another question. Does Aspen assist with conscious sedation licensing?
So I my first statement is no. I think that we do sedation for our oral surgeons who travel our practices, but our general dentists in our offices typically do not do sedation in our practices. Unless you're a specialist joining the company, I would say no to that question, just because, again, it's pretty much just the oral surgeons that are offering sedation services.
Great. We do have another one. Is owner occupation a potential rider for the disability insurance?
I honestly, we could bring that back to HR.
I was just gonna say we
Yeah.
might need to bring that back. I don't have an answer for that one. I've never heard of owner occupation, I suppose, in that term, but we can certainly look into that. Laureen, are you making a note on that one?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Apologize. Yes, I was.
Okay. I thought you were. I didn't have a pen close by, so we can look into that. Any other questions?
Don't have any further questions right now. We can definitely take some more. Oh, it looks like there's one coming in. 1 second. We're getting partial questions. Okay,
That's okay.
if someone is moving to a different state, what address do they use for the license procedure?
For the license process. So you would be living, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is you'd be living, let's say in Kentucky, you went to a school in Kentucky and maybe you're moving to a school, you're moving to the state of Iowa, for instance, right? So you probably would want to use your current mailing address, which would be the Kentucky one. And most likely you're going to forward any mail that you get over to your new address in Iowa once you get there. You will have to go back and do a change of address for the for your license information so that the dental board can get a hold of you. You'll have to go in and do a address with them. But I personally would use the one that you've been using throughout school and then just do the forwarding address once you do make that move.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you may be relocating and finding an apartment and a home. So that go ahead and use the address that you can get mail at, and then we can always go and we can help you
Yep.
with that as well.
Awesome, thank
That
you.
actually brings up a question, Laureen. Oh, sorry. Laureen, I just thought of a question that we get a lot from students. How important is it that we have the office address tagged to the license? I do know that there's some states that have that address process for the office to have an address on it. What's that like for you and your team?
The enrollment team and the carriers prefer to have the address for make sure it's in the same state. So in the example you gave with Kentucky and Iowa, we would like to get that license with Iowa. If you're a managing clinical director, that is, there are levels. There's an associate and then there's an MCD. The MCD doctor must have the clinical site address on their license at DEA. There is many states, as I believe Terry was alluding to, will allow you to have a correspondence address as well. But the MCDs for sure need to have their DEA and the state license have the site. The reason for that is those licenses are what we use for air gas deliveries and medical supplies.
Awesome, thank you. We do have another one, and the question is, can we use a photo of the official transcript instead of the diploma for the application?
Actually, this year
would
we
think
are
that-
asking for transcripts, but that's for a different project to support our OCC project. We do need a diploma picture eventually.
Okay.
And I will take pictures of transcripts as well. If I don't need the official, don't spend the money on another set of official.
Yeah.
Great. I don't have any further right now. We can give it a minute or so and see if any come in before we end.
Laureen and Terry, it's Carmen, but I was going to ask, we have some students on as well. So we have
Terrific.
doctors that are going to be joining the network that are either just graduating or practicing, clinicians that are waiting to start doctors, but then we've also invited students to hear the support that we offer through the credentialing and licensure process. So any advice that you would give to students that are a little ways off from applying, but that would set them up for success?
Terry, do you have?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys.
No, that's all
Yep,
right. I have
sorry.
some thoughts, but go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I would let you go with it first because I need to formulate my thoughts. I was reading a question in the chat, so why
Oh,
don't you go ahead?
absolutely. First of all, I appreciate you being here. We would certainly advise you to keep in touch with your talent acquisition manager. Get a sense. There are wonderful vibe sessions that you can attend. There's wonderful opportunities where you can network at those type of sessions. I would take advantage of it all. And I would talk to your colleagues that have joined Aspen because there's some wonderful things. I'm going to touch a little bit after this question, if we have time, on what's going on at the Oral Care Center in Illinois as well. I'd like to give that a pitch. But that's what I would do. I would go ahead, keep in touch. We love to hear from you. If you have a question regarding how to do something, we're happy to answer. And again, start to avail yourselves to what the Aspen Nation can offer you in your career.
Yeah. I think the important thing for everybody to remember is that we're a network, right, of people here to support our doctors. That's what we're here to do. Laureen and I live every single day communicating with providers that maybe just need some help along in their process, that may understand everything that needs to happen as next steps. And that's what we're here for, right? So you're going to have a ton of resources. It doesn't just stop with the talent acquisition team and credentialing. Even once you begin here, you're going to have like your territory directors and your regional managers, your divisional vice presidents. The folks on the operations side of this business are going to be there to support your career objectives, to be able to get exactly what you want out of this opportunity and to make sure that you're able to move forward in your career. So lots of resources, guys, inside the network. Please understand that if there's ever any questions, that's what we're here for.
Awesome. We do have another question in the chat, and it is, what if your state license application did not ask for a practice location?
And that's okay.
Laureen, I don't know if that would, okay. Yeah, I
No
think there's no
problem
big
at
deal
all.
with
If you
that,
put
right?
your home address down, that's fine. We'll just, mine
Yep.
and Terry's advice is just get it in there, current address. If enrollment needs something updated because Cigna needs something different, we will help you make sure that that happens. Oftentimes they do not. They'll just ask
Yeah.
for a mailing address. You are correct.
Yep. And again, this goes back to every state's different, you guys. I
I know.
can't stress that enough.
I know.
We
That's a
license
nightmare in
doctors
itself.
every single day in all of the different states, and it's as if they are all working from different platforms, yet it's the same process. So it's quite interesting. If you guys could see it from our side, you probably would have a good laugh at the individualized processes of the boards. So.
All right. Are there any other questions out there? You guys can write them in the chat.
Otherwise, Laureen, if you want to share about the OCC.
Yeah, let me chat a little bit about that. The OCC is the Oral Care Center in Illinois. It is right in the center of Chicago. I haven't had the pleasure yet to get there, but it is offering all sorts of courses. The implant course is being taught there. The extraction academy is being taught there. So one of the pathways to get to some of these educational opportunities is you do need either a temporary license or a permanent Illinois license. So for our doctors that are not based in Illinois, my team is helping get that Illinois license in order to go ahead so you can take advantage of some of those things. Now, this may not be in your first year or the first 8 months of you being there. It's a discussion and a pathway that you need to hit some key performance indicators, but it's certainly another avenue to grow your skills and bring you to Illinois to meet 20 or 30 other colleagues that are from all over the country and to work together. So it's pretty exciting. That Illinois license is paid for. It's part of the fee to attend a course. So it is paid for, but that is one of the reasons we're asking for transcripts now, because the Illinois license does ask for transcripts. So we're hoping that when we ask for them in the beginning, when you have them, have a copy, we can just store them in our files here electronically. And then if and when you decide in tandem with your management team that you'd like to attend any one of these courses, we at least have a portion of the steps to go forward. We also have the new doctor journey, which is geared towards it's a virtual class for 2 weeks, as well as mentoring in your office, and then it has a week in Illinois. There's no license required for that for the Illinois, but again, another opportunity to learn and to meet people and to get the resources. Our clinical VPs are just phenomenal. You'll have access to those doctors throughout your career. Terry, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with you on the oral care center. Really exciting stuff, though, right? I know that every new grad probably on call is excited to jump in and wants to place implants. And, I think the thing to remember is make sure that you are learning exactly what you want to get out of your first year opportunity, and be vocal, right? Be an active participant in your journey. There's going to be so much available to you when you get started. Just ask the questions. Again, go back to the resources that we have. We have an entire learning and development department that's there to support you and make sure that you're getting out of this opportunity exactly what you ever hoped it to be. So, oral care center is amazing, and I think anybody will be impressed once they get out there to see what it offers. So we're excited.
Laureen, is that something that with the licensure when would they start that process? Like once they're set to go to one of those programs, or when does your team look at starting that? I didn't know if while they're submitting everything, if that's something you just have on deck for temp in Illinois, or what that looks like.
What we do at this point, we are enrolling our permanent doctors now, owners and the associates that have met the key performance indicators. But we're trying to certainly cast that net a little bit bigger so we can get some of these documents now while you're applying for perhaps a license in Kansas. You have your transcripts, just make me a copy. We'll put it in your file. And then maybe a year to 18 months, if there's a pathway, there's an actual pathway for implants in particular. And then you can take advantage of the actual course. And again, that's a discussion at the POP level. But unfortunately, we're not doing the Illinois license at the same time as you're starting this journey, this portion of your journey. I'm trying to get one step ahead, and because there's a lot of interest. We have over 400 doctors we're working on licensures right now just to go to the OCC.
Wow, that's awesome. Your team is busy.
Yes.
So
Any
there
other
was a
questions?
There was a question that just came in off of that conversation, and it sounds like these courses are pretty popular and people, want to take part in them. So if they want to take these courses in the OCC, they have to have an Illinois license, even if they're practicing in another state, correct?
That is correct. There are other states, there's an Alabama class, there is a Mexico class as well. There's a great deal of excitement what's going on in Illinois at this time. There's two pathways to get the Illinois license. It's a temp license, a temporary license, which is a little bit less arduous than the permanent license. And it allows you to take a course over 6 months. So again, my team is here to help you with it. I actually have a dedicated person and another one on the way just for this purpose. But again, we're not doing it. We're focusing on getting you in your prime state right now, getting you into the offices and learning on your new doctor journey, and certainly building the skills and then offering you additional pathways to improve upon those.
Yeah. And for all the new grads, again, like you'll have access to the curriculums, right? To the continuums that they have for the implant. You'll have access to those pretty soon after you begin employment. There's some virtual based learning that they want you to have prior to going for the in-person implant training. So it's sort of the walk before you run scenario, right? Or thought process. We want you in the office practicing, but you can also start these continuums that are virtually based and get yourself prepared to be ready to take that live in-person course, usually within the first 12 months of it. And that's not for everybody. Not every student is going to want to learn implants right out of the gate. But if you do, it is something that you would have at your fingertips and accessible to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Laureen. There's no further questions at this point. So.
Okay.
We can go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, ladies, so much for being on and giving us all the tips and tricks of navigating getting their dental license, whether it be in a new state or for the first time. We're so excited to have them be part of the network and to have you there supporting them. So we will share this recording. I know it was full of information and details, and there's some good links in there. Laureen shared as well about the changes with the DEA. So we'll make sure we get that to everyone with the deck and the recording to the email that you registered with. That is all we have for tonight. So thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.